What's the most juicy thing you've seen happen in a workplace? We had a male call center manager that was banging girls in exchange for better schedules. This was happening on an empty floors bathroom in our building. During the same couple of years, the male sales manager was banging dudes in the same bathroom. I still wonder if they had any scheduling conflicts. I work in manufacturing and this was many years ago. No one actually saw it happen, but once had someone stick their hand in a running machine to remove a jam. Luckily, they were able to reach an e-stop and shut the machine down. Person lost a lot of skin and were out of work for 6 months. My crew had to do the cleanup after they shut the line down. We found bits of glove and skin under the machine guards. Talked to the individual when they came back to work. Could not give me a reason why they did that. Not personally witnessed, thank God. One of our old managers, Tom, would use his position of power to woo some hapless server. Trust me, it wasn't his looks or personality. Now don't get me wrong, he can frick whomever he pleases. But he would wait until after hours and do it in the office, in full view of the security cameras. One server blew the whistle and all the managers involved had to watch the tapes. The front of house manager told me he was hairy like Ron Jeremy without the package. A bonding day for the entire production staff. It's basically 6 hours at a hotel with access to the pool, gym, sports fields and a few organized activities that are aimed to raise morale. Now you're not supposed to bring alcohol. In fact, it's technically forbidden. But as long as you're not a complete moron, the management look the other way. Walk into a toilet to see 1 woman and 3 guys going at it. It was definitely consensual. I wasn't the first to see it and wasn't the last too drunk to realize that they should probably lock the door at least. Management looked the other way. Bonding. Fed is silent. The amount of people who shit on the floor in a store is unreal. I'm perfectly okay with not being in retail anymore. I work at a gym. We've had 5 cases of people shitting in random places in the past month and a half. In the offices, stairwell twice, dressing room, and in the showers. One of my coworkers loved to wear miniskirts and go commando. I know this because her cubicle desks didn't have vanity panels, and her desk faced mine across an aisle. I didn't spend my time trying to look, mind you, but when she got on her hands and knees one day to check the wiring on her PC, it was hard not to notice. She was also either a natural redhead or very thorough. I walked in on 2 co-workers going at it. The guy just said, "Hey, what's up?" like it was nothing. Sadly, it didn't work out for them. He pulled a gun on her in the parking lot a few months later. Guy took a shit from a 100 lattice tower. When you hear laying hot asphalt from a lineman, you scatter LOL. What the duck kinda bird was that? The hour woman at an old job I worked once cornered me to tell me all about her 14-year-old's baggage, how big it is, and how many times it's been within kissing distance of her mouth. She was telling this story very, very fondly. Turns out I'm not the only one she told, and she ended up fired a few days later. All locks needed to be changed at the office, and we had armed security patrolling outside for a little bit, because apparently the husband was a little crazy too. I guess I heard that instead of saw it, though. Worked in telemarketing. Saw way too much. People rolling blunts, snorting lines. One guy whipped his tongue out, did the helicopter dance, and then acted confused when he was fired. I used to work in one of the largest leather stores in the world, the kind that sells sexy toys, too. The sales floor staff frequently did it with customers in the dressing rooms, and occasionally on the sales floor. It was encouraged by management. We had a row of 10 or so porta potties that started swaying uncontrollably. Turns out a couple decided that a porta potty is a discreet place to hook up. I worked in a cemetery for years. I remember one of the funeral directors was banging a receptionist, and one night she met him out in the wall crypts and the security guard caught them with my homie's pants down. Side note, he was engaged to somebody else who worked there. The fireworks were legendary. I was at my old job and I went to the bathroom. I open a stall, and the toilet is literally filled with blood. But you see, the kicker is I was in the men's bathroom. I worked at a Nissan dealership located at a busy intersection in my city back in the early 2000s. One of the younger car salesmen was trying to sell a new car to a woman who looked to be in her 40s. It was going well. They were working on closing the deal. So I take a break and walk to the back car lot for a smoke, to find the salesman wedged between two cars amongst a row of cars with the woman he was selling a car to on her knees giving him a BJ. I was in complete shock. She never stopped, and he just smiled and gave me a thumbs up. I'm a 36-year-old female and still think of this one often enough. Went to go get a job at Lay's warehouse. When I walked in I saw the manager in his underwear doing some things and left. Let's just say I choose not to work there or eat Lay's chips again. Slowly puts the Lay's packet I was about to open back. Walked in on my boss boning the hour director in his office. My next review and raise were the best I ever had. I'm a teacher, and one day walking past the headmaster office I heard some very distinctive moans. I worked in a crusty movie theater when I was an innocent 16-year-old. Here is a summary of the shit I saw people my age doing. Storing liquor bottles in the ice chest, snorting painkillers off the sink, dipping balls or spitting in the popcorn, workers having sex in theaters closets parking lot, cleaners popping ecstasy before their shift, smoking weed behind the dumpster, managers selling drugs for employees to do on their shift, employee parties held in our 25-year-old manager's trailer. He supplied the alcohol for all the high schoolers. Cans of graffiti removing next to popcorn bags lying around the back. It was common for them to be taken out and huffed. We caught a 60-year-old rich, married, white lady blowing a homeless guy in our bathroom during Fantasy Fest while her husband waited outside. In her defense, I don't think she knew he was homeless. A guy getting up on a ladder during Black Friday in order to grab MP3 players from a pallet up in the steel shelves back room of a WM. The ladder was pulled out from under him, and he hung onto the steel with one hand while grabbing and tossing the boxes with the other hand. Complete insanity. Went up to a couple in the bar I was covering to ask if they wanted a picture. Woman is short of breath and the guy just says no. I ask the woman if she's okay, and she nods, and I walk off. I look back and see the guy furiously going at it under the table. A woman I worked with could be a little restless. We worked evenings and were relatively unsupervised. She occasionally would do exercises to burn off energy. She did a handstand against the wall once, and her titty popped out. I don't think she knew I saw, but I saw. I saw your titted. I manage a pizza and wing place. On Super Bowls we rent a refrigerated semi-trailer to store backup food. This last Super Bowl came and went, and the company never came back to get the trailer. So a few of my employees decided to hotbox the entire trailer. When they got out it looked like it was on fire from how much smoke was pouring out of it. This coworker was really into me. I just didn't like her like that, but I guess she got desperate, so she goes to where I'm working in the building and she literally just flashes her tits in front of me in the middle of the day and walks away. Once I walked in on one of my patients doing it with her boyfriend. She had given birth vaginally 6 hours earlier. Multiple ton motor being held up diagonally on a forklift with two dudes standing on the back of the forklift for enough counterweight. And one guy installing some bits underneath the motor that were mounts or whatever. LOL. Nope. I did go stand on the back of the lift though. Figured it might help. Girl got flowers on Valentine's Day. Some guys decide they need sunlight. So one dangles the other out by his ankles from the second floor by English terms. So ground first second to place the flowers on a ledge outside the window. Genuinely mystified that no one was injured. A well-qualified female was promoted to be a line supervisor at a manufacturing facility I worked at years ago. One of the men on the line was rather upset that he'd have to be reporting to a woman when the newly promoted line supervisor was making her first review inspection of the line. He dropped his pants and underpants and waved his dong at her in defiance. Her first administrative act as supervisor was to terminate his employment. I walked into the office kitchen and had a female work colleague take off her top and ask me what I thought of her breasts. I was a bit blindsided by this and said, "I've only come for a cup of tea. This girl is young enough to be my daughter." A few days later, she came into my office, wiggled her bum at me, and asked me what I thought of her bum. Edit: this girl was 20 plus years younger than me. Nope. I wasn't interested. I did raise this issue with the boss, who just laughed and said, "She's a character." She had resigned anyway, and I was taking over from her sans the flashing. She told me she was a model and she couldn't show me the photos because they were not suitable for work. She had shown the photos to a very conservative sales rep, who refused to come to our office after that. I can only gather the pics were more pornographic in nature than I had assumed them to be. She spent a lot of time pole dancing in the courtyard. I'm not sure she was wearing underwear beneath her short skirt. Worked at a computer store. We had a repair section. Someone had a computer that kept randomly shutting down. The tech went to turn it on to test, and the entire thing caught on fire. Turns out the guy had no heatsink, had never cleaned out the inside of dust plus the oil that got inside, and the case was covered in cooking oil. I don't know how it ended up in this state, but we had to close a repair section for a few hours while they assessed the damage. No other computers were harmed, but the repair desk needed to be replaced as well as half the wires. I worked at an Italian restaurant pizza place that was across the road from some cheap motels. Cheap motels were where tricks were turned. We found out the hard way that one of our pizza chefs was paying for puss and BJS with pizzas. LOL. I'd see him slip the girl a pizza through the window. Then he'd disappear for 20 minutes. I only walked in on them in the at once, and it was enough for me. Worked at a bar. First night, end of night. Go to tell a couple on the couch to call it a night. As I approach, I see his hand up her skirt. I tell them to call it a night. He begins to pull his fist out. The slapping sound still haunts me. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.